We are doing this celebration conscious of the fact that we are 63 years, but also, more importantly, conscious of the fact that economic times are hard.
World Press Conference marking Nigeria's 63rd independence. Secretary to the Government of Federation urges citizens to have faith in present administration to deliver good governance.
Many proclamations have been made, yet our troubles remain close at hand.
President Tinubu enters global stage, hits ground running with bold reforms as Information and Culture Minister, evaluates journey so far.
The board is committed to facilitating not only access to higher education in Nigeria, but also to ensure equity and inclusivity in the process.
Also in the news, JAM proposes 5-year strategic roadmap for inclusive higher education as Minister of State says 10.6 million out-of-school children data unacceptable. Hello and welcome to the Network News. I'm Naja Atutijani. I have Michael Olaleye in Lagos joining me tonight on the news. Remember, the Network News on NTA is always live on our website, nta.ng/live. Catch the replay on our YouTube channel and follow us across all social media platforms for news on the go. We begin with Nigeria's independence. The federal government is anchoring reasons for this year's Independence Day celebration on the commitment of the Nigerian people to achieving uninterrupted democratic rule since 1999. At the World Conference to mark the 63rd independence anniversary of Nigeria, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, George Akume, reaffirmed the resolve of President Bola Tinubu's administration to deliver good governance to the Nigerian people. Kenneth Nanim reports.
The World Press Conference is scheduled to herald other activities lined up for the 63rd independence anniversary of Nigeria. Secretary to the Government of the Federation, George Akume, explains that Nigeria has every reason to celebrate but will be on a low key, pointing to the socio-economic challenges as part of reasons.
We are doing this celebration conscious of the fact that we are 63 years, but also, more importantly, conscious of the fact that economic times are hard.
Meanwhile, the SGF enumerated several steps being taken by the federal government to cushion the impact of the fuel subsidy removal, including engagements with the organized labor unions.
At the same time, the government is engaging with labor in order to address areas of concern for the well-being of all Nigerian workers and Nigerians generally.
Answering questions from journalists, the SGF also put in perspective some of the urgent measures already taken by the federal government to provide palliatives to the Nigerian people, to include 5 billion naira disbursed to the state governments, distribution of grains, arrangements to procure electric vehicles and other projects captured in the supplementary budget.
We have repeatedly said that the fuel subsidy regime was a scam, but the courage to confront it was always lacking until this government came to power. Some of these things will be well encapsulated in the report that Nigerians will soon see.
The SGF also pointed to several economic policies by the federal government to revamp the economy and the desire by President Tinubu to woo investors into the country.
In totality, this is going to improve our economy and to create prosperity for all of us. Even the issue of students' loan is a policy to be applauded. Students will have access to loan. And when we hear that school fees is increased in universities, government universities, we say that is not true. Because the president said no, there was no increase and no public institution should increase school fees.
The event brought together media executives and other Nigerians from all walks of life. Kenneth Nanim, NTA News.
Similarly, the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, is optimistic that Nigeria is on course for recovery and greatness due to the way President Bola Tinubu hit the ground running with bold reforms, seizing the opportunity offered by the month of September to make a grand entry onto the global stage. The minister, who reviewed the president's journey to this point in a write-up, also acknowledged the dedication and determination of cabinet members to implement the renewed hope agenda of the Tinubu administration. Timothy Yusuf reports.
September 2023 announced the new Nigerian leader to the world as President Bola Tinubu in what has been his busiest month on the global stage since he assumed office, traveled to India for the G20 summit on the special invitation of Prime Minister Narendra Modi to set the stage for what to expect from Nigeria in the few years. Minister of Information and National Orientation Mohammed Idris explained that stopover on his way back home for a crucial meeting with the leadership of the United Arab Emirates UAE on lingering issues of concern between UAE and Nigeria, and then traveling to New York to make his debut at the most important annual gathering of heads of state, the United Nations General Assembly UNGA, are remarkable moves that worth the country's while. President Tinubu's address at the UN, which was reminiscent of the powerful and iconic Africa Has Come of Age speech by the late head of state, General Murtala Muhammad, 5 decades ago, drew attention of a listening world with his emphasis on an equal and mutually beneficial relationship between Africa and the world, instead of one defined by condescension, pity, and greed. Minister Idris says the president spoke boldly for the entire African continent, tracing the history of the post-World War II global system, starting with a Marshall Plan that helped redeem Europe. Asking for a 21st century equivalent for the plan, President Tinubu added, I quote, "We realize that underlying conditions and causes of the economic challenges facing today's Africa are significantly different from those of post-war Europe. We are not asking for identical programs and actions. What we seek is an equally firm commitment to partnership. We seek enhanced international cooperation with African nations to achieve the 2030 Agenda and Sustainable Development Goals." Unquote.
Many proclamations have been made, yet our troubles remain close at hand. Failures in good governance have hindered Africa, but broken promises, unfair treatment, and outright exploitation from abroad have also exerted a heavy toll on our ability to progress.
Mohammed Idris cited ending a costly and wasteful fuel subsidy regime that has over the decades deprived the country of tens of billions of dollars in potential infrastructure and human capital investments, and the commencement of the overhaul of the Central Bank of Nigeria, abolishing an inefficient system of multiple exchange rates, are all measures that experts say will grow the economy better. The Minister of Information and National Orientation also pointed to an impressive cabinet with representation of young people and women, while also creating new ministries and ministerial portfolios to reflect the pressing realities of the 21st century as clear signs of the priorities of the administration. Specifically noting Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy, recognizing the unlimited potential of that sector to produce national prosperity, and also a dedicated ministry for the creative economy. President Tinubu has, in his role as recently elected chairman of ECOWAS, the minister says has shown great commitment to stemming the condemnable wave of military takeovers that have rocked the sub-region, and expects that his diplomatic efforts will yield enduring fruit in the months ahead. The minister is also quick to note the busy last quarter of the year ahead, where the administration will unveil its inaugural budget, which will set the tone for investors and other potential partners. about government's priorities and Nigeria's participation in the annual Global Gathering for Climate Change COP28 in Dubai. Nigeria, he said, will push forward with work on the various reforms that the president has kick-started, from tax policy reform to a compressed natural gas (CNG) transition for petrol and diesel-powered vehicles, to the full implementation of a comprehensive relief package to cushion the effects of the fuel subsidy. Timothy Yusuf, NTA News.
The Senate will on Tuesday screen former chairman of the board of Citibank Nigeria, Dr. Olayemi Michael Cardoso, for the position of governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria. The Senate will also screen 4 nominees for the positions of CBN deputy governors who will join forces with Cardoso to steer the affairs of the Apex Bank in the next 5 years. A statement from the media office of the Senate leader indicates the Senate will screen all the nominees when it resumes from its annual recess. The statement also indicates that the Senate has scheduled October 3, 2023 for screening of ministerial nominees. Dr. Jamila Biu Ibrahim and Ayodele Olawande, designated as Minister of Youth and Minister of State for Youth, respectively. The Senate and the House of Representatives are set to resume plenary after the 2023 recess. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports on expectations from the two chambers. Nigeria's 10th bicameral legislature was inaugurated on the 13th of June 2023, and in line with the commitment to effectively discharge their constitutional functions, the two chambers immediately constituted the leadership and standing committees. Senate commenced the annual parliamentary recess on the 7th of August after the marathon screening and confirmation of ministerial nominees, while the House left for recess on the 27th of July. Now the two chambers are set to resume, and again, Nigerians have high expectations.
In politics and political positions, youth development, then electoral sanctity.
We are going to embark upon one of our major constitutional responsibility of oversight on ministries, departments and agencies.
For the first and last thing we should do is to confirm the governor of Central Bank immediately so that he can save the naira.
For things to go well, legislations need to reflect the people. It needs to reflect the needs, the yearnings, the peculiarity of the Nigerian people.
National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali joins me live to discuss some issues which might be addressed as soon as the National Assembly resumes. Now, thank you, Lami, for joining us. What do you think will be on the front burner once the legislature resumes tomorrow, Tuesday?
Well, thank you very much for having me. Remember that before the Senate and the House of Representatives went on recess for the first time, the National Assembly was faced with the new constitutional amendments which compels the presidents and state governors to submit the names of ministerial nominees and commissioner nominees 2 months or 60 days after taking office. And so when Mr. President submitted the list of his ministerial nominees, the Senate had to stay back even during weekends to ensure that it carries out that very, very important constitutional exercise, which is the screening and confirmation of ministers as submitted by Mr. President. Now, in the interim, the Senate and the House of Representatives will also be looking at their legislative agenda, which they did not do before they went on recess. Remember that what they did was the composition of the leadership after election of the presiding officers, that is Senate President, Deputy Senate President for the Senate, and then the Speaker and the Deputy Speaker for the House of Representatives, and then the leadership, that's the minority leadership and the majority leadership, were also put in place, as well as standing committees for both chambers, that's the bicameral legislature. Remember also that the two chambers screened service chiefs, that is Chief of Defense Staff and the 3 service chiefs are submitted. Now, when they resume, they're going to be also looking at their legislative agenda. The practice is that for each session of every assembly, they come up with issues of priority, matters that they're going to be addressing, matters that are going to be of priority for them in the 4-year life cycle of the two assemblies, of the two chambers. And so that's what we're going to be seeing. And then this evening, there was important information that came up from the office of the leader of the Senate, that is Opeyemi Bamidele, which notified the public that the president has already transmitted his nominees for the position of the CBN, that is Michael Cardoso, for confirmation, for screening and confirmation, alongside the 4 listed deputy governors nominees, as well as also the 2 additional ministers which the president nominated when the 2 chambers were on recess. So when the National Assembly resumes tomorrow, the first item that the Red Chamber, let me say, will be concentrating on, as we saw from the information from the office of the Senate leader, is that they will screen the CBN governor alongside the 4 deputy governors. And from the response of one of the interviewees, that is one of the senators, you heard that...
so essentially, though, what you're saying is the front burner will be some of these legislative agenda, and of course the screening was the main thing just before they went on recess. So we've run out of time, Lami, and we would like to take you up on more of that, but thank you for giving us an in-depth look.
Okay, let me just say this.
We're just going to call for break, and perhaps when we return, the news will continue shortly. Stay tuned. Deputy Speaker, House of Representatives Benjamin Kalu has enjoined its calling on citizens in the Niger Delta region to embrace dialogue and peaceful advocacy in drawing government's attention to developmental challenges in the region. In an audience with a delegation of the Ukwa People's Consultative Council from Abia State, the Deputy Speaker gave assurance that the legislature would engage the Niger Delta Development Commission to ensure equity in the spread of development projects and programs across the 9 states which make up the region.
Has done is to once again beam the light, the torchlight, on the oversight functions of the NDDC committee on NDC operations around the 9 states.
What we are saying is that let there be manifestation of concern on the part of NDDs. Nothing so far has given us cause to be happy as oil producing area.
The delegation promised to keep pursuing peaceful advocacy in the Niger Delta. Meanwhile, a 5-year strategic roadmap which will ensure inclusive access to quality higher education in Nigeria from 2024 to 2028, proposed by the JAM Equal Opportunity Group, based on 9 strategic goals, has been unveiled in Abuja. Olainka Ojo reports on the roadmap and an event where awards were presented to the top 3 tertiary institutions with the highest admission of people with special needs in 2022.
Before now, persons with disabilities have always not been carried along when at higher education level, as they do not enjoy equal opportunities.
There is a wider need for the introduction of the faculty of disability studies in Nigerian universities.
And to give them a sense of belonging, JAMB in the last 6 years has been championing access and inclusiveness in the conduct of their examinations. This first national conference on equal opportunities of access to higher education in Nigeria seeks to increase annual admission of candidates with special needs by 5%. Minimum facilities for delivering quality education for persons with disability to increase by 10%. And by 2028, at least 60% of students with disability attending higher education should report non-discriminatory attention in class.
The board is committed to facilitating not only access to higher education in Nigeria, but also to ensure equity and inclusivity in the process.
We did a gap analysis. Oh, now you find the gaps. So and how the gaps can be filled is contained in the strategic roadmap.
Applauding the initiative, Minister of Education, Professor Tahir Maman says, government will ensure the provision of conducive learning environments, inclusive curriculum, as well as support services for persons with disability.
I honestly look forward to the recommendations coming from this gathering to incorporate relevant aspects in the roadmap for the sector currently under preparation.
Decisions arising from this conference that require the review of curricula will be given top priority.
With more than 14 billion naira budgeted for achieving the goals and targets, it is expected that by 2028, Nigeria will join ranking universities in Africa and be among successful countries in the world with effective implementation of inclusive education. Olainka Ojo, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the Minister of State for Education, Dr. Yusuf Tanko Sununu, says the number of out-of-school children put at 10.6 million is unacceptable to the present administration, which is determined to address the issue. Dr. Sununu, at the opening ceremony of the Basic Education Summit in Uyo, Akwa Ibom State, also said the majority of Nigerian children are set to enjoy quality education. Kelvin Samuel reports.
Improving access to quality education for all children in Nigeria towards achieving SDG 4 is a theme of this summit organized by the Federal Ministry of Education. Stakeholders here have one thing in mind, which is seeking solutions to various setbacks affecting basic education across the country.
Education has witnessed various improvements and tremendous development in recent times in our country and across all levels. And we must remain committed to continue to assiduously sustain this effort.
And without having effective teachers, the optimum number of teachers in the classrooms, in our schools, it will be very difficult for us to achieve the purposes for which we have established those schools.
Brazil, because they're short of school buildings, they have several sessions running. So they have a morning school, an afternoon school, and then an early evening school. And that works for them.
It underscores our commitment and passion to get education right from the basic education stage, because we believe in the philosophy of catching them young from the cradle.
Paper presentations and panel discussions all geared towards finding lasting solutions to issues affecting basic education in the country featured prominently. In Uyo, Kevin Samuel, NTA News.
The Executive Secretary of the Universal Basic Education, Dr. Hamid Boboyi, joins us via Zoom for more on how the summit is expected to address issues in education. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Now, one of the issues on the table for the summit is the controversy surrounding the actual number of out-of-school children. Do you agree with the UNICEF figures?
Hello?
One of the issues,
Hello?
One of the issues on the table for the summit is the controversy surrounding the actual number. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Now, one of the issues on the table for the summit is the controversy surrounding the actual number of out-of-school children. Do you agree with the UNICEF figures? We seem to be having a bit of technical difficulty. We'll take a report and perhaps reconnect with our guest in the course of the bulletin. Meanwhile, a section of the Supreme Court of Nigeria was gutted by fire in the early hours of this Monday. Dennis Temple reports that no life was lost, but some documents were destroyed. The actual cause of the fire could not be determined, but the Director, Press and Information, says it is not unconnected to technical issues.
So just a case of electrical fault that happens everywhere. Well, as for the books that were touched, they are replaceable, even also in hard copies as well. And we have an e-library in the Supreme Court.
Chambers form a critical component of the judiciary where information is stored for reference. The Director Press maintains that documents lost in the incident can be restored.
This morning, I learned that the fire started around 7.
Been long put out through combined efforts of personnel of the Federal Fire Service and other emergency response agencies. It's time to join Michael, who is standing by in Lagos, for more on the network news. Over to you, Michael.
Thank you, Najatu. The Lagos State Governorship Election Tribunal sitting at Ikeja, Lagos, has declared Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu of the All Progressives Congress (APC) as the winner of the March 18th, 2023 governorship election in the petition filed by People's Democratic Party (PDP) challenging the outcome of the election. The tribunal struck out the petition for lacking the merit. The Labour Party's petition against the Deputy Governor Dr. Obafemi Hamzat on alleged dual citizenship was also dismissed. Adiola Komiakere reports that Adediran had earlier filed a motion seeking the disqualification of Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu and his deputy Obafemi Hamzat on the ground that both were not duly nominated. The tribunal, in its ruling on preliminary objections, said that it has no power or right to inquire into primary election of any political party, adding that it is a pre-election matter. Therefore, tribunal is only concerned with outcome of elections. Another objection taken is whether the third respondent, the Deputy Governor Obafemi Hamzat, is a separate and distinct candidate from the second respondent, Babajide Sanwo-Olu. The tribunal was also asked to determine whether the Deputy Governor could be listed as a respondent in the petition. The tribunal noted that the issue has been decided in a number of cases, noting that a Deputy Governor and Governor are not separate candidates and they are not required to pay separate security deposits. Meanwhile, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has been reacted to his victory at the tribunal.
Announce some information I've gotten that both judgments were given in our favor, and I want to first commend the judiciary, the judges that heard and led and gave this judgment for, I imagine, in our view, a well thought out, a well detailed judgment. They took their time, and I think they explained to everyone the reasons that led them to the views and to the conclusions that they've had to give today. And so I want to thank them for doing a good job for the state and for the nation.
The governor there giving its remark on the election, the tribunal, victory at the tribunal. We now join Musa Toliat now at the government house in Alausa to give us the situation. Musa, what is the situation over there?
Minutes ago, the Lagos State Deputy Governor, who led the Lagos State Council members to the Governorship Election Petition Tribunal, arrived at the State House here at Alausa in Ikeja to brief the governor on the proceedings at the tribunal. And so, a few minutes ago, the governor came out and then addressed a gathering of more than 50 media houses here at the State House. In his words, the governor said that he was happy that people stood by the government right from March 18 governorship election till when the tribunal started sitting until the final judgment was delivered today. And the governor actually said that he's willing to work with the opponents, political opponents, to take Lagos to the greater heights that everybody is actually yearning for. So the governor is saying that he has not taken the victory for granted and that he is happy that Lagosians have kept faith with the Lagos state government.
The governor live from Alausa. Moving forward, be reminded that you can follow this news broadcast live on our website at nta.ng/live and on our other social media handles displayed on your screen for updates. Time for some messages. The news will be back shortly. Please stay.
Thanks for staying tuned. And the Executive Secretary of the Universal Basic Education, Dr. Hamid Boboyi, is live again on Zoom for more on the Basic Education Summit holding in Uyo. Thank you for joining us again.
Thank you very much, Nigerian.
Now, one of the issues on the table for the summit is the controversy surrounding the actual number of out-of-school children. Do you agree with the UNICEF figures?
Well, I think there isn't much controversy on these issues. The figure of 10.6 million, it has ranged from 10.2 to 10.6, and this came even out of our 2018 school census done by the Universal Basic Education Commission.
Now, we have been able, go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
Okay, we have been able to establish these figures. What happened was the UNESCO report of 2022 that said the number of out-of-school children in Nigeria has increased to 20 million. But people have not understood the figures, isn't it, rightly. That 6 to 11 years, the usual strategic group that we look at, the figure remains the same. In fact, UNESCO is even telling us that we have improved. It has come down to about 9.5 million based on the UNESCO report. But let's not forget, basic education is no longer ending at junior secondary school. Basic education is going to senior secondary school. So when UNESCO looked at it, he said, okay, you have 9.5 million at the level of 6 to 11-year-olds. You have about 5.6 or 0.9 at the level of junior secondary school, but another similar figure at the level of senior secondary school. So with that number at senior secondary school, if you add the entire group, it becomes now 20 million. Other countries also went through the same process because India, their number jumped to 50 based on this particular report. So the numbers have been for Nigeria, they have been very stable as far as out-of-school children has been concerned. That effort that government has been put in has been able at least to contain the rise, to minimize the rise. Yeah,
so let's divert from the figures a bit. Let's divert from the figures a bit and talk about aggressive enrollment drive instead. This is the minister's charge. Now, what role will UBEC play in this regard?
UBEC is an integral part of this process, and it has been one of the organizers of this particular conference. And the idea is to bring all the stakeholders. We brought the various commissioners of education, the SUBEB chairman from all the states. We got, other stakeholders that are coming from both the federal system and the other systems. And at the end of the day, the idea is to sit down and discuss how together can we make sure that we can get our children into school, and we can provide the facilities. This is not just about bringing children to school, but we have to also make sure that if we bring them, They have the facilities that can, we have the facilities that can serve them. We have the teachers that can teach them. And I think these are all the important issues that this particular summit is looking at with all the stakeholders.
So I'm afraid I'm going to have to cut you there, though. Again, we've run out of time, but I do want to thank you for, of course, giving us an in-depth look at this very important issue. I've been talking with Dr. Hamid Popoi, Executive Secretary of Universal Basic Education, on the Basic Education Summit holding in Uyo and how it is expected to make an impact on education, especially regarding out-of-school children. The slow pace of construction of the Eastern Narrow Gauge Railway from Port Harcourt to Maiduguri has come under scrutiny of the Minister of Transportation, Seidu Al-Ali. Robinson Deratide reports.
The rehabilitation and construction of rail lines across Nigeria is intended to help promote regional trading, ease transportation challenges, and improve the nation's economy. At the flag-off of the Eastern Narrow Gauge Railway Corridor, which will connect 14 states from Port Harcourt to Maiduguri, stretching over 2,000 kilometers, Nigerians were very hopeful to see its completion in 36 months as promised. It is a project of over $1.9 billion to be financed through 15% counterpart fund by the federal government and 85% by the contractors.
Is linking the two ports in Port Harcourt up to Maiduguri. That will promote regional trading. Cost of trading will be very low. By the time we have started the passenger train, it will go a long way to cushion the effect of petroleum subsidy withdrawal.
Inspecting the project in Port Harcourt and Comcom community stations, the Minister of Transportation, Saidu Al-Kali, expressed disappointment with the performance of the contractor for only achieving about 47% between Port Harcourt to Aba in Abia State, despite government's fulfillment to its own part of the agreement.
So far, even Port Harcourt Aba, the project is just around 47%. Ideally, it's supposed to cover 47% of the entire 2,000 kilometers, which by now we should be around plateau or so. And yet we are still struggling to be in Aba before the end of the year. I'm not happy, not only not happy, I'm disappointed. When I came to where they are laying the rail lines, you can see they are using manual alignment to align the sleepers. As this century, during this era of technology, I felt if you are not ready for something, don't even start it.
At the moment, not much work is going on at the project sites in Port Harcourt. Robinson Deratide, NTA News.
Earlier on in Enugu City, commuters were left stranded when the flyover bridge between the new Artisan Market and NNPC megastation along the Enugu-Port Harcourt Expressway collapsed. Kelechi Ochiaga reports that no casualty was recorded.
The flyover bridge across Enugu-Port Harcourt dual carriage express serves as a gateway to motorists from the northern and southern parts of the country. The collapse of the bridge had been attributed to waterways, thereby resulting in weakness of the edges.
I believe the engineers did a good drainage structure, but it has been obstructed for whatever reason.
According to eyewitness account, there was no casualty as artisans and residents were yet to come out from their various homes for the day's activity. However, a lorry which had been on the bridge at the time of its collapse is still trapped, although the driver and conductor escaped unhurt.
Here is also a very strategic place in Enugu because development is moving from the city down to this side. So it's a dual road, and I heard that there has been some sign prior to now that this thing is about to happen.
In the meantime, the Federal Road Safety Corps has advised the general public and road users to detour through alternative routes, as both lanes of the dual carriageway have been blocked.
Motors coming in from Abakaliki, Abuja, by Naira Junction, they should go in through the Abakaliki Express Road, while the vehicles coming from Port Harcourt, Aba, will come in through this Kenyatta Market.
In Enugu, Kelechi Ochiara, NTA News.
But to know that Good to know no casualties were recorded, and Musa Abubakar is here with happenings in the world of business. Musa.
Thank you, Naja. The Central Bank of Nigeria is partnering International Monetary Fund (IMF) on reducing risk of climate change to economic policies and development in West Africa. To this end, a training was organized by Africa Training Institute to equip 44 participants from 6 African countries on building resilient economies that can better withstand climate shocks and sustain development.
All countries have ambitious policies. The pace at which they are moving reflects a combination of factors, capacity, which is not the same everywhere, and also access to financing is very important to accelerate the implementation of climate policies in the region.
We also need global cooperation to support the transition to a low-carbon economy and build resilience in the most vulnerable countries. This requires financing and access to technology.
Market closed first weekday of trading on a bearish note. The all-share index shed 0.66% to end the session at 66,882.64 basis points. A total of 408.1 million shares valued at 5.4 billion naira were traded in 7,707 deals. Its market capitalization advanced to 36.6 trillion naira. Well, that's business news. NTA News continues after the break.
The federal government has declared Wednesday, 27th September 2023, a public holiday in commemoration of Eid al-Mawlid, the birth of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. The Minister of Interior, Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo, who made the declaration in Abuja, congratulates all Muslims, both at home and in the diaspora, for witnessing this year's celebration. In a statement, the minister also urges Nigerians to imbibe the spirit of love, patience, tolerance, and perseverance, which are deep spiritual virtues exemplified by the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him. Tunji-Ojo also wants Nigerians, especially the youth, to embrace the virtues of hard work and peaceful disposition to fellow humans, irrespective of religious belief, ideology, social class, or ethnicity, and join hands with President Bola Tinubu's administration to build a progressive and enviable nation. Vice President Kashim Shettima has described the death of Khadi Kaka Shehu Imam, father of Muhammad Imam, former People's Democratic Party candidate in Borno State, as a great loss of an institution to the entire country. A statement by the Vice President describes the revered scholar as one whose legacy will outlive him, adding that he will be remembered as a philanthropist, role model, and elder statesman who was an embodiment of peace and harmony. The Vice President prays Allah to grant his soul eternal rest, his family, the good people of Borno and Nigeria, the fortitude to bear the loss. The death has been announced of Martina Amos Hamman, aged 67. The sad event occurred on the 21st of September 2023 at the University of Maiduguri Teaching Hospital after a prolonged illness. Late Mrs. Hamman, as she was popularly called, was a retired staff of the Borno State Ministry of Education, spending most of her career as a home economics teacher at the Government Girls College, Maiduguri. The burial arrangement, as announced by the family, indicates that she will be buried on Wednesday, 27 September 2023 at Christian Cemetery, Old GRA, behind Government House, Maiduguri, immediately after burial mass at St. Augustine's Catholic Church, Lagos Street, Maiduguri, by 9 a.m. Late Martina Amos Hamman is survived by her children, grandchildren, and many relatives, among whom is Hamman Jabani of the Nigerian Television Authority International, Abuja. That concludes the network news on NTA. Thanks for watching.